I got home earlier than anyone expected, rolling my suitcase across the hallway without even taking off my jacket. 5 days on the road had worn me down, but nothing prepared me for what waited beyond the bedroom door. Elaine lay unmoving on the bed, her breathing shallow, her arm limp over the blanket. A strange stillness clung to her body, not the kind that comes from exhaustion. Lauren stood near the open file cabinet with a stack of insurance folders spread across the desk. She froze when she saw me, one hand hovering over a signature page where my name had been crossed out and rewritten. "Tell me what you did to your mother." Her shoulders tensed. She wasn't feeling well. She needed rest. You know how she gets when you're away? The words sounded rehearsed. A small brown bottle on the nightstand caught my eye. Elaine never used that medication, and the label didn't match anything prescribed to her. "What is this?" "It's nothing. Dad, you're blowing this up." She found the small tin box on the shelf, removed a set of spare keys, and unlocked the file cabinet. The folders she pulled out weren't random. She moved directly to the insurance documents. A few envelopes went into her backpack, including the original $12 million policy. She scanned the rest, then shoved the drawer shut, leaving a mess I'd noticed earlier. The recordings didn't offer excuses. They offered certainty. A third clip began with her pacing the living room. She spoke on the phone, her voice edged with urgency. "He said he can handle the paperwork as long as you don't delay," she whispered. A pause followed, then she added, "Yes, the attorney does those special filings. He knows what to do if the timing lines up." Hearing her say it shattered any remaining doubt. The tone didn't match someone caught in a misunderstanding. It matched someone executing a plan. My breath stuck when a small twist revealed itself in the footnotes of a digital filing notice she held during the call. The date matched the morning Elaine collapsed, and the same morning Lauren submitted a request to the insurance company asking them to review my diminished capacity. The document number flashed long enough for me to catch it. It wasn't an accident. Everything lined up far too neatly for coincidence. A sharp ache built beneath my sternum. Part of me wanted to shut the laptop and pretend none of this existed. Another part kept replaying the question that hovered ever since the ambulance left the driveway. How long had Lauren been heading down this road, while I convinced myself she was struggling through a rough patch like any 25-year-old? My phone buzzed again, a number I didn't recognize. I let it ring out while forcing myself to breathe. The laptop sat on my lap like a weight I couldn't lift. Then the bank called. "Mr. Harris, we're reaching out regarding the updated beneficiary documents submitted for your life insurance account. We need to confirm authorization from you." My mouth dried. No authorization came from me. The representative paused, clearly thrown off. "Well, sir, the request lists a medical assessment attached to your file. It states there's a concern regarding your capacity to sign legal documents. Your daughter submitted it with her ID for verification." A cold pulse ran through me. "Cancel all activity immediately." "Understood, sir. We'll freeze the account until further notice." The call ended. My hand shook so hard I nearly dropped the phone. Rita reached out not long after. "Michael, did you find anything you left fast earlier?" A long breath came before the answer. "I found enough." "Do you want me to call the police? This isn't normal, and you know it." Not responding right away felt like its own confession. She waited a moment longer. "Think this through. Elaine didn't end up like that by accident." Her voice softened at the end, but it didn't lessen the sting. The shed, the missing files, the footage, none of it left room for rationalizing. The truth pressed against every part of me, yet the instinct to protect my family fought back hard. Some men raise their children believing loyalty solves everything. Some discover far too late that loyalty can blind them. A new call cut through the silence of the truck. The unknown number returned. Curiosity, dread, and disbelief tangled together as my thumb slid across the screen. "Mr. Harris." A calm male voice said, "This is the Office of Greenway Legal Services. We'd like to schedule a brief meeting to verify the documents related to your status evaluation." I swallowed hard. "What status evaluation?" "Your daughter submitted a request for review of your decision-making capacity. We just need 5 minutes to confirm some items." Every muscle in my back tensed. I didn't authorize any request. "That's precisely why we need to verify it. She brought supporting materials. If you could stop by today, we'll get this cleared up." Supporting materials. The phrase hung there heavy and deliberate. The laptop rested open beside me, frozen on the last frame of Lauren clutching her phone while discussing that special service attorney. Her plan had been unfolding right in front of me while I kept working overtime, convincing myself she only needed time to settle down. My fingers pinched the bridge of my nose. The call continued on speaker, the man repeating his request for a meeting. Something churned deep in my stomach. There would be no walking away from this now. "Send me the address," I said. The line clicked. A notification appeared with the location and time. The laptop sat there waiting, the next clip already queued. My thumb hesitated over the trackpad while a dull ache crept up my throat. The decision to press play or shut the computer wasn't simple anymore. It felt like a choice between knowing the full truth or holding on to whatever illusion remained of the daughter Elaine and I once raised. The address texted to me led to a small office in a strip mall near Bell Road. A brass plaque by the entrance read, "Greenway Legal Services." The place felt more transactional than professional, the sort of office people visit when they want something handled without questions. A receptionist ushered me toward a narrow conference room where a young man in a suit waited with a folder open in front of him. "Mr. Harris?" he asked, barely glancing up. "Yes." He rotated the folder so it faced me. The first page displayed my full name beside a bold header declaration of incapacity. My signature sat at the bottom. The shape resembled my hand, but carried none of its rhythm. "We just need to verify a few details," he said. "Let me see the entire file." His expression shifted. "I'm afraid that's not possible. Your daughter already provided the necessary medical evidence." The words hit with surprising force. "What evidence?" "Documentation suggesting diminished judgment. Nothing unusual at your age." She was very concerned. Concerned? The term tasted bitter. "Show me the documents." He folded his hands as if preparing for an argument. "Mr. Harris, we only need your acknowledgement. This is routine, especially when a family member reports substantial cognitive decline." The calm in his voice sharpened something in me. "My daughter reported what exactly?" "That you've been erratic, forgetful, unable to manage daily responsibilities. She indicated that a formal determination would protect the family's assets." A flame of disbelief flared, then cooled just enough to keep me functional. "Open the rest of that folder," I said, keeping my voice steady. He hesitated, then flipped a few pages. Power of attorney drafts, beneficiary forms, a checklist for expedited filings. Then something heavier, a document titled Preliminary Certificate of Presumed Death. The line for the subject's name had been filled in, my name spelled correctly, printed cleanly, as if someone had rehearsed it. My stomach hollowed. "You're preparing a death certificate for someone standing in front of you," I said. He shifted uncomfortably. "It's not final. Only a template. Some families prefer to handle matters proactively when an individual's condition declines rapidly." "My condition hasn't declined. I'm just following procedure, sir." There was no point arguing with someone who saw me as ink on a page. The folder closed under his hand, but the imprint of my name lingered like a bruise. Is Lauren here? No. She said she trusted us to finish the paperwork. She asked that you cooperate so the process can move forward. Cooperate. Another word that scraped across my nerves. I won't sign anything, not one line. One. The assistant shrugged, as though he'd predicted that response. She'll be disappointed. She was confident we could finalize today. A pressure built beneath my ribs, a mixture of anger and disbelief. This wasn't about money anymore. Lauren intended to erase my authority entirely to reduce me to a legal fiction she could manage at will. The meeting ended without ceremony. He handed me a business card and reminded me to consider what's best for the family. I left the room before the bitterness rising in my throat spilled out. The phone buzzed as soon as fresh air hit my face. Rita's name flashed on the screen. Michael, where are you? At a law office. Just left. You need to get back here. Elaine's showing new symptoms. Her pulse keeps dropping. The doctor's concerned the sedative is still affecting her. My grip tightened around the phone. I'm coming now. Traffic crawled along the road heading towards the hospital. Messages vibrated through the device, one after another, unknown numbers, then the same number from Greenway Legal Services, then a text from Lauren. Stop resisting. You're making this worse for everyone. The words stirred something I didn't want to name. Each message fed the sense that I'd been pushed onto ground that shifted every time I tried to stand still. Honor Health came into view at last. I parked near the emergency entrance and moved quickly through the automatic doors. Rita met me halfway down the corridor. Her vitals keep dropping. They're adjusting her treatment, but they want to keep a close watch. The sedative wasn't clearing as fast as expected. Will she wake up? They're doing everything they can. There's no guarantee how long it will take. Her hand rested on my arm, briefly steadying me in a way sympathy rarely manages to do. You should talk to the police soon, she added softly. This didn't happen by accident. No argument formed. Mom said she felt dizzy earlier. My pulse climbed. Not a single blanket was disturbed. Elaine didn't even react to my voice. Lauren lunged toward the papers, sweeping them into a pile as if covering a crime. The motion revealed a change of beneficiary form for the $12 million policy I'd taken out years ago. My signature, at least an imitation, sat at the bottom. Step back. Now. You're being dramatic. A crack in her voice betrayed something else. Fear, anger, maybe both. She edged between me and the documents like a guard protecting stolen goods. The bottle remained on the nightstand, so I grabbed it and inspected the label. High-dose sedative. Not something Elaine would ever ingest without guidance. My chest tightened. Elaine didn't stir. Move away from the desk, Lauren. Don't call anyone. She'll be fine. You always overreact. A sharp refusal followed as I reached for my phone, but her protest didn't slow my hand. Emergency services picked up after one ring. The truth stood there heavy and undeniable. A transport nurse pushed Elaine's stretcher toward the critical care unit. Machines surrounded her cords running from her arms and chest. She didn't stir when I stepped near the rail. The nurse apologized for rushing another patient needed the room she'd been in. Rita spoke with the doctor while I followed the stretcher down the corridor. The wheels thudded gently against the seams in the floor, the rhythm steady, almost lulling, as if the building itself had decided to keep pace with the weight pressing down on my body. A vibration hit my palm again. More messages from the law office. We need your signature to proceed. Please confirm availability. Your daughter requested urgent completion. Urgent completion. The phrase carried a cold efficiency that made my breath catch. The stretcher rolled through the double doors, leading into the monitoring area. Nurses adjusted equipment while the doctor issued instructions. I stepped back to give them space. From the hallway, the scene moved in rapid shifts. Elaine's hair pushed aside for a sensor. A bag of fluids replaced one nurse calling out numbers for another to record. My phone continued to buzz in my hand, each vibration reminding me of the meeting I'd just walked out of. Rita approached her gaze steady. "Stay close. She'll want you here when she comes around." I nodded and moved toward the wall near the entrance, watching as the team settled Elaine into place. Machines beeped in uneven rhythm, rising and falling without pattern. Elaine stirred for a moment as a nurse adjusted her blanket. Her eyelids fluttered, and a faint sound escaped her, something between a breath and a question. Before I could reach her, her head drooped again, her arms slackening against the rail. The doctor nearby glanced at the monitor, then at me. "Her blood work shows levels far higher than a typical dosing mistake," he said. "So someone gave it to her. It's not our role to decide intent, but this wasn't accidental. We've contacted Adult Protective Services. They'll want to speak with you." The words rattled around in my head as he stepped away. APS. An agency you never imagine intersecting with your life until it does. Their call came an hour later. "Mr. Harris, we need background information on your household. Anyone with access to your wife's care medications, financial responsibilities." A pause caught in my throat before answering. "My daughter lives with us. We'll follow up with her as well. Thank you for cooperating." The call ended, and tension settled deep in my chest. That pressure grew heavier when Lauren's name appeared on my screen seconds later. Her voice hit immediately, sharp and hysterical. "Dad, what are you telling them? Do you realize you're destroying my future?" "Lauren APS contacted me. They asked basic questions. You always do this. You twist everything and make me the problem. I was trying to protect Mom from you losing control again." "Losing control? I wasn't even home." A sob burst through the speaker. "You don't get it. You never listen. You only care about proving you're right." The line went dead before I could respond. A strange tug pulled at me, confusion mixed with the memory of her as a child, clutching my hand on the walk to school. Somewhere along the years, something cracked. I didn't know when, and that ignorance stung worse than her accusations. Another call arrived, this time from the bank. "Mr. Harris, due to a recent beneficiary amendment request, we've placed a temporary hold on your policy account. This is standard until the updated documents clear review. Put everything on freeze." "That's already done, sir. We'll notify you if any further changes occur." The world around me felt smaller. Not darker, just tighter, as if every direction I turned closed off another exit. The lack of access to my own account added one more layer to a day already bending under its own weight. Rita crossed the hall and stopped at my side. "You look pale." "Bank froze the account. They said a new beneficiary request hit the system." She exhaled slowly. "Michael, you can't sit on this. Show the police those recordings. You don't have much room left to wait." The suggestion wasn't pushy, just steady, like someone handing over the last truth I'd been avoiding. She stepped closer. "Your wife didn't end up in that bed from stress. This is deliberate, and you know it." Her words nudged me toward the parking lot. A decision had to be made, and indecision was its own form of surrender. Scottsdale PD sat on a quiet stretch near the Civic Center. A detective named Sergeant Clayton brought me into a small interview room and listened without interruption. The videos played on his tablet. His jaw tightened as he watched Lauren pour the sedative, then rifle through the cabinet. "This is serious," he said once the final clip ended. "I figured." "You've shown clear evidence of poisoning. To escalate this federally, we need proof she intended financial exploitation, not just harm. There are missing documents, and the insurance company told me a review of my capacity was submitted. Bring anything you have: emails, notices, communications from legal offices. If we can demonstrate intent to defraud at a high-dollar level, federal jurisdiction becomes likely. He gave me a card and escorted me out with a firm nod. We'll treat this carefully. Gather everything. Don't confront her. The building door clicked behind me as sunlight broke over the pavement. A strange stillness followed, as though the world held its breath. By the time I returned to the hospital, Elaine remained unresponsive. A nurse checked her IV line, murmuring something to a colleague. The air carried a hum of constant activity, everyone moving with purpose. My own purpose felt scattered. Protect my wife. Protect myself. Salvage whatever remained of our family. A vibration buzzed through my pocket. An email notification glowed on the screen. Greenway Legal Services. Confirmation for appointment declaration. Signing. Your signature is required tomorrow at 10:00 a.m. No one had asked for my consent. No one had checked if I wanted an appointment. They simply scheduled the moment they intended to strip my legal authority. My stomach twisted. Another message followed right behind it. Please arrive promptly. Your daughter has provided the supporting documentation. Elaine's stretcher shifted farther down the hall as staff prepared to transfer her to another bay. Machines beeped in uneven rhythms. Rita stood with a chart in her hand, looking between the monitors and my wife's face. More emails stacked up. More reminders to finalize the paperwork. More urgency. More assumptions. My thumb hovered over the screen while a nurse called out updated vitals, her voice steady but quick. A transport tech pushed Elaine's stretcher toward the next unit. The phone vibrated again, and the hallway felt narrower as I read the latest subject line: final notice, legal verification required. I remained there, following the sound of the stretcher wheels, the phone still buzzing in my hand. The insurance office stood a few blocks from the hospital. I walked in without an appointment, the folder containing screenshots from the videos tucked under my arm. A representative named Helen met me at the counter after I requested an urgent review. I need all activity on my policy halted, I said. Of course, Mr. Harris. Let me pull up your file. She led me to a small desk. Her fingers moved across the keyboard, then she frowned. There was a recent update submitted by your daughter, a beneficiary change, and a medical capacity form. I didn't authorize any of it. I want copies. Helen printed the documents and set them in front of me, one by one. The first page showed a signature labeled as Elaine's, neat, controlled, unmistakable. But the submission date matched the morning Elaine had been semi-conscious on a stretcher. She couldn't have signed this, I said. Helen studied the date. Is there an issue with her ability to sign? She was sedated. She wasn't capable of holding a pen. Another sheet slipped from the stack, this one with a small audio icon in the corner. What's that? A required verification file, submitted by the attorney representing your daughter. A wave of unease crawled up my neck. Play it. Helen adjusted the volume. A man's voice came first, asking Lauren to confirm her intentions. Then Lauren responded, low and steady. He won't be back in time. Just proceed. We need everything finalized before they notice anything. Helen blinked. She's talking about you, isn't she? My jaw tightened. Send me that file. I need it. She forwarded the recording and handed over printed copies of every document. You should speak to the police, she said. Something here isn't right. Her concern didn't feel scripted. It only made the knot in my chest tighten further. The drive back to Scottsdale PD blurred into short stretches of red lights and heavy thoughts. Sergeant Clayton ushered me into his office as soon as I arrived. I placed the audio file and the forged forms in front of him. He listened twice. The second time, his hand froze above his notepad. "She's implying you were either missing or unable to respond," he said. "She was preparing a false death filing," I answered. He leaned back, exhaling through his teeth. "This completes the financial exploitation element. Poisoning combined with a coordinated effort to seize assets that pushes this toward federal jurisdiction." His tone carried none of the hesitation from our last meeting. The operator asked for symptoms. The words came out clipped as I explained the state I'd found my wife in. Lauren tried to block the doorway, insisting I was misunderstanding everything, but the call already connected us to the nearest unit. The moment sirens echoed down the street, she retreated toward the desk again, clutching the scattered files against her chest. Nothing about her stance suggested concern for her mother. The papers seemed far more important. Paramedics rushed through the front door seconds later. One leaned over Elaine while the other asked me about medications, allergies, recent illnesses. Lauren interrupted with scattered excuses, but the paramedic dismissed her with a brief shake of the head. The ambulance pulled up to Honor Health, and the paramedics moved Elaine straight toward the monitoring area. One of them asked me to wait just beyond the doorway while they assessed her condition. He gathered everything into a labeled evidence envelope. "We'll open a case file immediately. Be prepared for follow-up questions." The ride to the hospital afterward felt heavier than the first. My phone buzzed non-stop. At the next stoplight, I checked the messages. Lauren had sent a long email to every relative within reach of her contact list. "Dad's losing control. He's attacking me for trying to help. I'm afraid of him. Please don't call him until he calms down." Aunts, cousins, even my brother replied in confusion, some asking if I was safe, others urging me to seek counseling. The thread scrolled endlessly, each message painting me as unstable, erratic, dangerous. Some wanted to give me the benefit of the doubt. Others clearly didn't. The pit in my stomach widened. Watching my own family pull away felt worse than anything the insurance clerk had shown me. Before stepping out of the truck, APS called again. "Mr. Harris, we've spoken to your daughter. She alleges a history of emotional intimidation on your part. She claims your behavior has escalated." "That's not true. We're not drawing conclusions, but given the poisoning concerns, we have to evaluate all statements." "She's preparing legal documents to declare me incompetent," I said, fighting to keep my voice steady. "Please forward any materials that support your position." After the call ended, the urge to lean back and let everything collapse washed through me. The hospital building loomed ahead, the parking lot packed with visitors. A man crossed in front of me carrying a bouquet for someone he loved. Life around me kept moving while mine narrowed to a single point. Rita spotted me as soon as I stepped through the sliding doors. She approached with a chart in her hand and a look that carried both exhaustion and determination. "You look worn down," she said. "Lauren's making sure everyone thinks I'm losing my mind." Rita closed the chart. "Then you need facts, not emotion. Give the investigators everything. The videos, the paperwork, the recording. Don't hold back." "I never thought she could do this," I murmured. "People justify terrible things when they're desperate," she replied. "That doesn't make it your fault." Those words landed deeper than she knew. A doctor called her name, and she handed me a thin packet she'd been carrying. "Before I go, take this. It's Elaine's initial intake report." The top page bore the hospital letterhead. Midway down the notes, the phrase struck me hard enough to still my breath: "Suspected poisoning sedative ingestion inconsistent with patient history." Rita tapped the page lightly. "That line will matter. A lot." She hurried off toward another patient. I stood there in the corridor, the report warm from her hands, the noise of the unit ebbing and flowing around me. Messages continued piling up on my phone, most of them warning me to calm down or stop blaming Lauren. The next morning, I walked into Scottsdale PD carrying everything I had gathered, printed screenshots from the shed camera, the hospital report showing suspected poisoning, the forged insurance documents, and the recording Helen had sent me. Sergeant Clayton met me near the front desk and guided me to a briefing room. "Let's go through it one more time," he said. Folders spread across the table while he reviewed each piece. His expression tightened with every page. When the audio clip played, he didn't interrupt. He simply lowered his head for a moment, then stood and stepped into the hallway. 2 minutes later, he returned with another officer. "Mr. Harris, due to the dollar amount involved and the coordinated fraud, we're notifying the FBI. They'll take over the financial crime portion." A strange relief washed through me, not comfort, just the sense that the burden no longer rested solely on my shoulders. An agent named Torres arrived within an hour. "We need locations, names, and any pattern of behavior leading up to this," she said. I handed her the schedule Lauren had forwarded when she told the attorney's office she wanted to finalize the process. The appointment time sat circled in red Phoenix late afternoon. "She's planning to sign off on the final packet then," I said. Torres nodded. "We'll attend. You'll show us the way. Keep your distance from her, but stay with us until the situation is controlled." The drive to Phoenix felt suspended, as though each mile slid past without meaning. Agents followed in unmarked cars, maintaining radio contact, while I stayed focused on the directions. My pulse thudded hard, not from fear of confrontation, but from the weight of what waited at the end of the trip. Greenway Legal Services sat wedged between a tax office and a dental clinic. Torres lifted a hand, signaling the agents to move into position. She turned to me next. "We go in together. You lead us to the conference room she used last time." The entrance door opened without resistance. A receptionist started to speak, but stopped as soon as Torres displayed her badge. I guided them toward the back hallway, the same path I'd walked days earlier, with a tightening throat. Voices drifted from the final room. A man's voice I recognized, the assistant's tone, followed by Lauren's. Torres nodded to the agents. One of them pushed the door open. Lauren sat at the table with a pen in hand, her signature half-formed on the last page. The assistant stood beside her. Both froze when the agents stepped in. Lauren shot to her feet. "What is this, Dad? Why are they here? Are you trying to scare me?" Torres answered before I could. "Ma'am, put the pen down. We have questions regarding these documents and the evidence submitted to support them." Lauren pressed her palms against the table. "He's dangerous. He followed me here. I told you he's unstable. I'm afraid he'll hurt me." Her words ricocheted off the walls, desperate and loud. Torres didn't flinch. "We have your recorded statements and forged filings. We also have evidence tying you to the administration of a sedative to your mother. Your claims do not align with the facts." The assistant attempted to step back, but an agent stopped him. Lauren's eyes flicked between the documents and the agents. "You don't understand. I was trying to help my family. He can't manage anything anymore." Torres raised a small recorder and pressed play. Lauren's own voice filled the room. "He won't be back in time. Just proceed. We need everything finalized before they notice anything." The sound drained the fight from her face. She sagged against the chair, as though someone had pulled the ground out from under her. "Lauren Harris." Torres said, "You are under arrest for attempted financial fraud, forgery, and involvement in the poisoning of Elaine Harris. Keep your hands where we can see them." Handcuffs closed around her wrists. The clink of metal, a simple noise, landed heavier than any argument we had ever had. She didn't look at me. Not once. She stared at the floor as if admitting the truth would break her. I remained still. No anger rose, no relief either, only a hollow ache that spread through my chest. The assistant protested as agents questioned him about his involvement, but my focus stayed on Lauren. She trembled as Torres guided her toward the hallway. For a moment her eyes flickered up not to meet mine, but to scan the room as though searching for a version of herself she could defend. They led her out. The corridor swallowed their footsteps. My feet carried me forward almost by habit. On the table the folder sat open the false beneficiary forms, arranged neatly beside the capacity declaration and the draft of the presumed death filing. The pen Lauren had been using rolled to the edge and stopped against my hand. The agent nearest the door spoke quietly. "We'll need you to provide a final statement when you're ready." I nodded, but kept my gaze on the documents. Years of trust, years of raising her, years of believing effort could fix anything reduced to a stack of papers that looked clinical and impersonal. The federal charges arrived faster than I expected. An agent from the U.S. Attorney's Office called to confirm they were pursuing 4 counts against Lauren, poisoning, forgery, financial fraud, and attempted asset seizure. Hearing the list didn't bring relief. It didn't bring anger either. It simply landed the way a final diagnosis lands after weeks of testing inevitable once the facts line up. Elaine recovered slowly. Her speech drifted in and out for days, her memory foggy, her body weak. The doctor pulled me aside after one exam. "If this had gone on any longer, she might have suffered permanent neurological damage. You brought her in just in time." The statement created a hollow ache more than any sense of accomplishment. The timing hadn't been heroic. It had been luck, bad luck leading to slightly less bad luck. Paperwork followed subpoenas, victim impact forms, statements for the case. Each one arrived with instructions, deadlines, and lines for my signature. The prosecutors didn't need commentary. They needed clarity. I gave them that. No explanations, no emotional appeals. Their job was to parse the evidence. Mine was to stop pretending I could fix everything by keeping conversations polite. Lauren's public defender contacted me once, asking if I would be open to a meeting. "No," I said. "Do you want to submit a letter regarding sentencing?" "I have nothing to request." Avoiding punishments wouldn't heal anything. Seeking harsher ones wouldn't either. Distance seemed like the only choice that made sense. With every day that passed, a truth I had been avoiding for years moved into focus. My hands stayed clenched around the bottle I'd taken from the nightstand, the label already memorized, even though I didn't understand half of what it meant. Rita Coleman stepped over as soon as she finished with another patient. Her expression changed the second she recognized me. "Michael, what happened?" The words caught in my throat for a moment. She wouldn't wake up. This was next to her. The bottle passed into Rita's palm, and her brow tightened. "Where did she get this?" "This isn't prescribed. This dosage isn't for home use." A low hum formed in my ears. She never took anything like that. Not once. Rita looked toward the room where Elaine lay connected to monitors. "I'll let the doctor know. This type of sedative, it's strong, very strong." Lauren's name lit up my phone before Rita even handed the bottle back. Then another call. Then a string of messages. "Dad, stop exaggerating. Mom probably took the wrong pill. You're stressing everyone out for nothing." I had spent too much time sidestepping hard conversations, convincing myself a calm house meant a healthy one. I managed conflict by absorbing it. Lauren learned to fill the space I left by shaping her own narratives. As a father, I taught her steadiness. I also taught her silence. She weaponized both. Salt River Project approved my request to reduce hours. The supervisor nodded when I explained I needed time for medical care at home. "Take what you need," he said. The simplicity of it startled me. Weekends opened up in a way they hadn't for years. Instead of sitting behind a desk or catching up on missed reports, I enrolled in a hiking class near Camelback Mountain. The instructor, a retired firefighter, didn't ask about my personal life. He pointed out trail routes, pacing, and safety techniques. The landscape forced a different rhythm, steady breathing, measured steps, attention on the path, rather than the past. Elaine decided to move into a smaller apartment near the medical center. "I don't need the big house anymore," she said, her voice steadier, though still thin. "We can stay there together," I replied. She squeezed my hand. "I'd like that." The apartment suited her, manageable, close to her doctor's, fewer reminders of the months when her body betrayed her without her knowing. I learned how to support her without hovering. She learned how to rest without feeling guilty. We rebuilt routines not out of sentimentality, but necessity. Lauren's hearing dates came and went. I didn't attend. Prosecutors kept me informed in short, efficient messages. The court accepted the plea negotiations. Sentencing scheduled. No contact order confirmed. Each update felt like a stone placed neatly on a long row, organized, unceremonious final. Some relatives reached out after realizing they'd been misled. One aunt called to apologize for believing Lauren's emails. I listened, but didn't offer much in return. People believe what fits the story they prefer. I wasn't angry at them. I simply didn't have the energy to retell everything. Elaine regained her appetite slowly. She asked fewer questions about Lauren as the weeks passed, not because she stopped caring, but because her body had no room for extra strain. Doctors encouraged short walks. We circled the complex together step by step, pausing when she needed to catch her breath. Progress came in small, uneven increments. During one follow-up appointment, I sat in the waiting area, filling out yet another form. The routine had become strangely grounding. Dates, symptoms, medications listed out again and again until they formed their own pattern. Patterns made sense. People didn't always. Elaine finished her examination sooner than expected, and we made our way toward the parking lot. She moved carefully, her arm looped through mine, her balance improving, but still fragile. The evening air carried a light dryness typical of Scottsdale, a familiar reminder that the seasons were shifting again without asking anyone's permission. Elaine paused near the passenger door. "Can we pick up soup on the way home?" "Of course," I said. She eased into the seat while I placed my jacket on the backrest. A few new messages had arrived on my phone, one from work about a scheduling change, another from the hiking instructor confirming next weekend's session. Ordinary concerns, unburdened by the chaos that had consumed us for months. The engine hummed as I turned the key. Elaine adjusted her seatbelt, and I checked the mirrors before backing out of the space. Nothing dramatic followed. No revelation, no triumphant soundtrack, no whispered summary of lessons learned. Just the two of us heading home, after an appointment doing the next task on a list that didn't need to be meaningful to matter. I pulled onto the road, steadying the wheel with one hand, while the phone buzzed once more in the console. The message could wait. The day was already full enough, and the road ahead plain as it was felt like exactly what I had left to live. More came through, each one more frantic than the last. The tone felt practiced, accusing, defensive, trying to spin the situation long before anyone had asked for explanations. Rita touched my elbow gently. "She didn't do this to herself, Michael. You need to think about how that bottle got there." Her voice wasn't judgmental, just steady. It left a strange weight on my chest. Elaine had been fine before the trip. Tired, yes, but far from this. The memory of Lauren shielding those documents flashed up again, and the back of my neck prickled. The hospital staff asked for medication histories. They wanted names of any doctors Elaine had seen recently. After providing what little I knew, a sense of unfinished business pushed me toward the parking lot. Something lingering back home needed checking. The house felt different when I walked through it alone. No police, no paramedics, no movement. Only the echo of Elaine's limp arm on the bed and Lauren's stiff posture as she clutched those papers. That image wouldn't leave. The yard door creaked as I entered the small storage shed. A few tools hung where I had left them weeks earlier. The file cabinet tucked under the bench looked undisturbed until the top drawer slid open. Whole folders were missing. Insurance records, original policy statements, power of attorney forms gone. The remaining files had been shuffled hastily, some bent as if pushed aside in a hurry. A cold pulse ran through my stomach. Someone had been here with a purpose. And not long ago. The phone buzzed again. Another message from Lauren. "You're making this worse than it is. Mom told me she felt off earlier. Don't blame me for her choices." A second message followed right after. "People are calling me because you're scaring them. Stop." My sister's number appeared, next, then a cousin's. Lauren had already reached them, judging by the anxious tone in their voicemails. "She says you're overwhelmed, maybe not thinking straight. Call us back." Not thinking straight, those words stung more than I wanted to admit. Rita's earlier warning returned with surprising clarity. "Think about how that bottle got there." The shed felt smaller than usual. Something about the mess, the missing paperwork, the abrupt calls it all, formed a pattern I didn't want to name yet. A metal box in the corner caught my attention. Years ago, during a home project, a small security camera had been mounted there to keep watch on deliveries. The memory surfaced with a jolt. That camera hadn't been touched in months, but it still connected to my old laptop. It monitored the shed after a rash of break-ins in the neighborhood, then stayed up out of convenience. If Lauren had been in this shed looking for documents, that camera might have seen everything. My chest tightened as I grabbed the laptop from the hall closet and carried it out to the truck. The calls still poured in while I settled into the driver's seat. The device took longer than usual to wake, probably from lack of use, and a thin layer of dust clung to the top. Another message from Lauren appeared while the login screen loaded. "You're turning this into some kind of investigation. Mom wouldn't want that." My thumb hovered over the power button before forcing itself away. The truth needed to be found, even if the truth cut deeper than anything imagined. The cursor blinked steadily once the desktop appeared. No sound filled the truck, only the faint rumble of passing cars. My throat tightened as the camera folder flashed on the screen, waiting to be opened. A breath slipped out slowly, while the touchpad under my palm warmed. The file list began populating one clip after another, each marked with dates from the past week. The sight made something catch in my chest, and my hand froze above the trackpad just long enough for a single thought to surface. Whatever waited in those recordings was going to change everything. The first clip opened without hesitation. Lauren stood at the kitchen counter pouring a measured stream of liquid from a small bottle into one of Elaine's mugs. Her movements were calm, almost practiced. The clip timestamp ran several days before my return. Elaine entered the room a moment later, rubbing her temples. Lauren handed her the drink with a forced smile and lingered nearby, watching her finish it. Elaine's shoulders dropped her grip, loosening on the counter as she reached for balance. Lauren didn't step forward to help, she simply observed until Elaine drifted out of frame. That single sequence drained the warmth from my hands. Another file loaded automatically. This time Lauren rummaged through the storage shed with a flashlight,